Okay, so I was actually just recording this as a video, but then I decided, you know what? No, actually, I want to talk about this on a live. I don't necessarily expect anyone to show up, but just in case someone does, I would really be really curious to hear different people's opinions and points of view on this because I am just so passionate about this. I really am. And I just really want to talk about it, honestly. Um anyway, so like I said, just at the video, so I'm gonna have to start over and say everything again. But when I start talking, I like to talk, so we're gonna do it. So I'm talking about dating apps from a woman's perspective, as I said in the title, right? I'm talking about them because I use them on and off for about a year. And, there's a man that there's a few men that I listen to who talk about like relationships and how men think about things, stuff along those lines. And, you know, there's one in particular that I listen to, and he is so against dating apps. He's so against them. And quite frankly, I wish that I would have seen and heard about his videos before I started using them. Now, one of the things that he says is that, well, he talks about, he says mostly that the reason why you shouldn't use them is because of the men that you'll find on there. As far as he's concerned, like 99% of them are not good because when they're on there, it's like they're in a place of weakness, right? And I'm not going to lie to you, even as a woman, I feel like when I went on there, it was from a place of weakness in a sense, to be perfectly honest. Like, yeah, I went on there hoping for the best, wishing for the best. I wanted to find someone to get into a relationship with, but I also was really craving validation. Like, I wanted to feel wanted and attractive and desired. Like, I wanted that, right? But ironically, what I learned was that I still didn't get it. And what I mean by that is I'm not saying that no one liked my profiles, cuz that's a lie, because people did. Guys did like my profile, and I did talk to some men. So it's not that. But what I mean is my experience being on there, it, what it showed me is that it's so fake. Like, it's so fake. You don't get much information out of it at all. You really don't. Um for example, you don't know that just because a guy liked your profile, like the thing is, it doesn't mean anything. And unfortunately, when I first started using the apps, I thought it did. Like, I thought that a guy actually liking one of your um liking your profile, I thought it meant something. I thought it meant, that they found you attractive, or there was something about your profile that they really liked, or whatever. And it was so exciting and flattering, or whatever. It really was at first, before I knew better. And then and then I kept using them, and I started to realize some things from talking to the guys that I talked to, and also just making the matches that I made. And you know, the guys that I listen to, especially the one, Tony Gaskins. Yeah, I'm gonna just shout him out because really I feel like that man single-handedly has really changed my mentality on a lot of things. But you know, the thing is, the experiences that I went through, they really made me appreciate and be able to validate the things that he says. They really did. They made me validate and appreciate what he says. Like, because what he says, I feel like, if honestly, at the end of the day, while it's really nice to um get advice and everything, experience really is the best teacher. Like, you're gonna learn the most, I feel like, and the fastest from actually experiencing something. And that's really messed up, because it really should be that if someone else experiences something and they can tell you, you should be able to learn from them and not have to make the same mistakes. But sometimes I think you really do have to just make those mistakes. It's better when you don't have to, but I feel like if you do make the mistake, because the thing is, if you don't make it yourself, sometimes it's like you start thinking you're the exception to the rule, or you start thinking, well, but maybe if I did this, or maybe if I did this a certain way, it'd be different, blah, blah, blah. Like, you'll really start seeing exceptions and stuff. And that's not necessarily going to be the case. And like I said, from my experiences, that is how I know that that man is so accurate. Okay. Because let me tell you that my experiences on those apps were so bad. They're so bad. They're so bad. Um, Gosh. So, like I was saying, I used to think that a guy swiping on your profile meant something. I thought, like, oh, it means that he likes you or he finds you attractive. And then I realized that no, it doesn't. It does not mean that. It doesn't. It could. It could. But the thing is, you'll never know. You'll never know. And one of the things that Tony Gaskin says, okay, um, he really, really solidified in my mind. Like, I did the video on why a man needs to pursue. And he ultimately is the one who really has me on that, like, really, really hard. Because before listening to him, right, I had this perspective of like, oh, we're in a new age, like, kind of feminism. I don't know if I would fully call it that, but I was very like, oh, we're in like a new age, we're in a modern age. Women can do what men do. Women don't need to sit back and wait for men to do stuff. And, women can, if they want to talk to a guy, they should be able to do that. Like, if a girl if she is into a guy, then she should be able to, she could start it off like, that's cool. What's the problem? Like, maybe he didn't see her, maybe he didn't notice her or whatever. Maybe he was interested, but he wasn't sure if she was interested back. So she kind of just gets the ball rolling, whatever. And also, just from different experiences I had, like, non romantically, it felt like I always had to be the initiator anyway. Now, I didn't like it. Let me make that clear. I did not like initiating things, but I did it because I was used to it. I was used to it. I really was. Um but what I learned through him is, you really do want the man to pursue you, and you want him to pursue you because you want him to pursue. Sorry, I got a text. Okay, sorry. But yeah, so like I was saying, if the man doesn't pursue you, if he doesn't show his interest first, it really puts you at such a disadvantage because, men will really just use you. I'm going to try not to repeat too much of what I said in that video because that would just be redundant, but like the reason I'm bringing it up is because it really like it's if you have that in mind while you're on a dating app, it really does just make things better. It Okay, so here's what I mean by that, right? So going back to the whole thing of if you match, you think it means something, but it doesn't necessarily. So when I was on these apps, I would notice that so when I would start to message first, that was very much in the beginning, right? And even without listening to Tony Gaskins, I got to the point where I was like, I am not messaging these men first. I'm not doing it. Like I started thinking that before I even started listening to him. But let me tell you what was happening at the beginning when I had a different mindset and I was like, oh, I'll message them first. It should be okay. I would match with these guys and then I would try to initiate conversation and keep them going like I was used to doing when trying to make friends with people. And what I found was that the guys that I matched with, it was like a lot of the times I could just say hey first and they wouldn't even respond. They wouldn't even respond. Or if they did respond, they gave no effort, no energy, no conversation, or, well, not really, or, because it was pretty much always that. And then, but then there was also the issue of getting ghosted. You, they would just stop talking to me. They would just, and it was such a bad and um confidence draining experience. It truly was. It felt terrible. Okay? It felt terrible. And it just made me, I was so confused. I'm like, I don't understand. We matched. So there was supposed to be like mutual interest. There was supposed to be. But there isn't. Like, why not? Why not? And, so then after that started happening so many times, sometimes, you know, I would also start to notice that there would be times where, like, we would match. Like, okay, so let me also talk about specifically when I was on Bumble, which let me tell you that with the mind frame that I have now, the entire concept of Bumble just absolutely not. Now, okay, I do feel like if you're the type of woman who you genuinely are more in your masculine energy, and like you really do want to be the leader in the relationship, then sure, use Bumble because the men that you find on there, yeah, that's probably what you're gonna have to be for them. Like, In my experience, there's issues with men on like every dating app, but especially on Bumble, where the entire premise is you have to message them first. Yeah, no, you really need to be prepared to be in your masculine. Like most of the time, you need to be prepared for that. You just do. Like, period. You need to do that. And oh my gosh, more times than not, I would match with guys and they would just let the time run out. And it was so embarrassing. It was so I'm not even going to lie. It was so embarrassing. And it really made me think, like, I don't get it. Why did they even like me if they were just going to like let the time expire? I don't get, like, I don't understand. And so, with all of the negative experiences that I was having, and Bumble really was my least my least successful one. I mean, none of them were successful, but Bumble especially was just awful. Um but I do think that the okay. I really feel like the kind of guy who goes on Bumble, but okay. Um no, but it's like, so like I said, naturally I was starting to develop this thing of like, you know what? And at the time I really didn't have much of a concept of feminine and masculine energies. I really didn't. And honestly, I think it's something that needs to be taught more. I genuinely think that, because I really think that it would help in a lot of the ideologies that are going on these days. Like, I really do think that it would, truly. Um I really do. I know it's not going to happen though. So, it is what it is. But like I said, naturally, what was actually happening was I was falling back into my feminine. But what I thought it was, and honestly, what it still was as well as falling back into my feminine, was me being exhausted and me not wanting to have to be the one to put in effort. So then I started to naturally get to the point where I was like, okay, you know what? If we match and this guy doesn't message me first, then he's not interested. Like, I came to that conclusion myself just based off of dealing with this, because the thing is, I started to think to myself, why, if I'm matching with these guys, if they liked me first, why is it that they don't say anything? Whether I message them first or not, why don't they say anything? And it made me come to a few different conclusions. Now, I'm going to be honest, I still don't fully know which one is right. They're probably all right. Actually, no, they're all right. I just don't know which one happens the most. I'll say that. I don't know which one happens the most. And I know no guy is going to be honest enough with me to tell me. So it is what it is. I don't care anymore because I refuse to use them anymore. But I got to the point where it's like, okay, guys, when they swipe, either they must be swiping on every girl, right? They're swiping on every girl and they just want to see either like who it's like an ego thing, right? Like, I'm gonna swipe on everybody and just see who I could get, you know. Or it's laziness. I'm gonna just swipe on everyone and whoever reaches out back to me if I'm actually interested, then I'll say something, right? So there's that. They swipe on everyone. Or there's, I'm only gonna swipe on girls I find attractive. Now, in both these scenarios, they don't even read the profiles, okay? They don't even read them. They just look at pictures. And in the first case, where they're just swiping on everyone, I don't even think they really look at the pictures or care. The second scenario, they look at the pictures and that's all they do. They just look at the picture for like a second. Don't even look at all of them. Kind of just look at the first one. Maybe they look at a few of them. I don't know. But they look at the first one. They say whether or not they think this girl's attractive. If they think she's attractive, they just swipe right. Which is, maybe you don't know. Swipe right, you like someone. Swipe left, you don't like them. Swipe right, you do. So they swipe right if they at least just find the girl attractive. Now, here's the thing, though. They'll swipe right on a girl who they find attractive, but how attractive they find her, that's up in the air. They just need to find her attractive. I very much believe that a lot of guys, if not most guys, go on the scale system, up to a 10. And I feel like, generally speaking, for guys, they'll swipe on girls that they consider to be 7s and ups. That's what I think. The guys in this category who swipe on, once they find attractive. I feel like once you hit 7, you're attractive. And so if they think you're at least a 7, then they'll swipe. So I think that is the second group of men. And I'm going to get more into the second group, or actually no, and the first one. I think they kind of, it goes hand in hand. But then you'll have the third group of men who will genuinely swipe on girls that they are actually into. They'll actually read the profile and they'll actually be interested in the girl. I genuinely think that's rare. I do not think that most guys pay attention to the profile. And if they do, it's only after they match. So, going back to that whole thing of the attractiveness thing, right? So, I think whether you're in the first or the second group, if they match with a woman that they find attractive, right? Now we get to A, how attractive do they actually think this woman is? And B, are they already talking to a girl that they find more attractive than her? Because, I think that if the girl that they swiped on is not attractive enough, they just won't even bother. They just won't even bother, Especially if it was just for an ego boost thing. If it was just to see could they get you. They knew from jump that they had no intentions of talking to you, but they just wanted to see, what was this going to be like? So and again, if they're already talking to someone who they feel like is more attractive than you, and so they want them more, then they're not going to bother. At the most, you'll be like an option. Like if things fall through with this girl that they're already talking to, who they're already more into, then they'll talk to you. But, or maybe, they don't plan on that being long term, so they figure they'll do whatever they want to do with that girl, and then they'll start to talk to you. But the point is, you're just a backup. You're just a backup. You're just an option, if even that. Sometimes, like I said, again, they have literally zero intention of actually ever talking to you. And some guys will only entertain you after you've matched if you talk to them first, because they had no intentions of talking to you. And if this sounds like something that has been going on recently in the media, yeah, that's why when I heard that story and I heard the way that went down, I was like, no, no, absolutely not. And I am gonna talk about that because this is alive, and so why not? uh but because the thing is, what really made me even more so believe in what I'm saying right now is I ended up watching this video by this creator, and it was this guy. And listen, I'm gonna say right now that I'm pretty vain, okay? Like, I already can recognize that I'm not the beauty standard, and I'm not like the most beautiful girl in the world. I know that, but I still have eyes, right? And I am an artist. I have a deep appreciation for aesthetically pleasing things. And so, when it comes to people, okay, I will I will say if I find this person attractive or not. And you can call it me being mean, me being judgy. I mean, I am being judgy. I'm not gonna like lie about it. Yeah, I'm being judgy. And like I said, I'm not gonna sit here and tell you I'm the most attractive person either. So it is what it is. But the guy who's doing this video, okay, he wasn't even like the best looking guy in the world. He just wasn't. Sorry. He wasn't ugly. Don't get me wrong, he wasn't ugly, but he was like just above basic. The reason why I bring this up is because I felt like he has some nerve. He gonna talk about how, he just moved to the area, and he hadn't had none in a while, so he got on a dating app and he was just swiping, and he was just swiping on girls he found attractive. But now here's the reason why I bring up his appearance, right? Because he said, um if the girl wasn't at least an 8 that he swiped on, then he wasn't gonna bother. Like, a 7 wasn't good enough for him. And if we're like, in all honesty, at least to me, in my eyes, calling him a 7 is generous, okay? He has some nerve. Like, I don't know what is gassing these men up. Like, I don't know what's going on. Where you feel like a 7 is like beneath you, especially when you're not exactly like an 8 or a 9, bro. You're not. What are we doing? Anyway, yo, I'm really passionate about. I'm sorry. This is why I made this alive, because I get real passionate about this. I get real mad. I think about this time of my life and I get upset. Obviously, I'm not over it. But anyway, he gonna say, yeah, if she not at least an 8, then blah blah blah. And then he matched with this woman, right? And he did think she was beautiful or whatever, but she was just a 7. And so he said he wasn't gonna talk to her. He wasn't going to. But she messaged him first. So he was like, oh, okay, I guess I'll talk to her then. So he's talking to her. And to make a long story short, he hadn't seen her body, but he assumed she looked a certain way. And when he saw her in person, it turned out that she was a bigger woman. She was fat. And he wasn't feeling it. All his attraction to her went out the window. But even so, he still allowed her to perform fellatio on him. Okay? If you don't know what it is, well, look it up. But she still let him do that. And the thing is, even after he let her do that, because she had expressed wanting to do it, he made it sound like he did her a favor. Like, he literally said, oh, I know, guys, I know I let a fat girl do that. I know. Like, bro, are you serious? You're the one who got something out of that. Then he gonna say, I mean, it was good though. I'll admit, like, it was good. But yeah, so I gotta admit, I got it from a fat chick. I was like, I'm watching this video like, bro, shut up. Are you serious? I was legit really mad listening to this, because this was really confirming what I already thought and what I'd already been saying. It was confirming this, okay? So he did that. He said he felt like gross afterwards. I think that's what he said. I fine. Maybe he didn't say he felt gross. I think he did say that, but at the very least, he said he ran to the bathroom because he knew what she was gonna want next. He put all his clothes back on. He came out. She had her clothes like off, and to make a long story short, he wanted to take her home. He told her he was going to take her home, and she was upset. She was crying, talking about, you use me. Then he gonna, not to her, but like to the audience that's watching the video, he gonna say, I don't understand. I was being a nice guy, and I wasn't even attracted to her, but I was still blah blah. Blah. Like you, if he genuinely thought he was doing her a favor, he's out of his mind. And I don't know if guys really feel that way or if he just did that for entertainment. I want to hope so bad he just did that for entertainment, and he's not really that freaking stupid to think that he doesn't understand what he did to that girl and that he doesn't see that he used that girl. Okay? But the fact that he said that, okay, that he made a video out of that, it just confirmed. That was one of the things I thought, that guys, they'll swipe on you, but if they're not that interested, they still won't say anything. And then, but if you still talk to them, they won't even really be interested, but they'll talk to you just because you talk to them. That's it. It's not because they like you. It's not because they're actually interested. It's just because they're bored. You're some sort of entertainment, so they talk to you back. And I mean, I know you could argue, oh, well, he did think she was beautiful and everything. And if she would have had the body that he thought she had, then maybe things have been different. Blah, blah, blah. Maybe. But either way, the point of the matter is that he already said he wasn't really that interested in her. So he wouldn't even have talked to her. So he wasn't really, he already set up that he wasn't really gonna be putting that much in. Even say he liked the conversation with this girl and everything. You know what? Let me get off of that. But you get my point. So now I'm gonna talk about the Simone Biles situation. Yeah, I'm gonna talk about it. Now, I'm gonna start this off by saying that I truly hope that she really is happy. She looked happy during that interview. She looked happy. And so hopefully in their real life, outside of the media, out off camera, she really is happy. But let me tell you, if they end up getting a divorce or something later down the line, I'm not going to be surprised. And I'm not just saying that just because most marriages end in divorce. No, that's not why I'm saying that. The reason why I'm saying it is because in her story, or not even her, he, and that's an important thing to really point out too, he really made sure to emphasize how much she pursued him. Wanted to talk about how he was the prize. And, I did like a little video on TikTok explaining how I feel about the whole thing with the prizes. So I'm going to just touch on it right here just in case you didn't watch it and you don't plan on watching it. But I feel like the whole thing with the talk, with the prize lingo it's like this. If we're looking at it from the perspective of value, then yes, both people are the prize, or they should be the prize in each other's eyes. You should be able to see the value in the other person, therefore they are your prize. Okay. But if we're talking about pursuit, then yes, the woman should be the prize because the man should be pursuing her, and then in getting her in the end, she was his prize. Okay? Now, if the woman wants to really pursue the man, like I said, she needs to fully be in her masculine energy. She needs to be like a special woman who that is just her. She really is cool with that. She um she is a leader that doesn't tire her out, and she doesn't feel any desire or need or want to be in her feminine because, you know, listen, at the end of the day, I do feel like there are always exceptions to the rules. And so, even though I feel like most women are naturally going to want to be in their feminine, there are going to be some who aren't. And for those women, okay. Like I was touching on earlier with the Bumble situation, but, and I don't know. Maybe that's Simone. Maybe it is. Maybe. But here's the thing, whether she is or not, it's not even really fully about the fact that she pursued him. I mean, it is, but it isn't. But what I mean by it is this: it would be different if, to me, it would be different if she was pursuing him and he did at least seem interested, but she was just making the first moves, right? Because, like I was saying, my whole thing with the man pursuing is it shows. Actually, I don't know if I actually even got into that yet, but, or maybe I did. I don't know. I've been talking a lot. But when the man pursues, it more so shows that he's interested. Like, he's laying his hand out and he's showing he's interested. Because if you're pursuing him, like I said, he could talk to you. He might like you. He might. But he could also just be talking to you just to entertain himself, just for something to do. You're just a placeholder, okay? But if he pursues you, even though it doesn't guarantee that he's going into it for the right reasons, there is a much higher chance that he actually is interested in you because he was interested enough to talk to you in the first place, right? So here's my thing. Simone shot her shot. It is what it is. But it's not like she shot it and then it seemed like he was interested and, you know, he just wasn't initiating. No, he flat out in that interview. Now, I've heard that he did previous interviews before, but, you know, in that interview, the one that blew up, he is literally, I mean, the way I heard it, it sounded like he wanted to make it clear that he was not into her. Like, he literally sat up here talking about, you know, they matched and he walked away. He saw that she had all these likes on his profiles and everything, and she messaged him and he walked away again. And oh, he saw her and he was fighting it. He want to emphasize how much he's fighting talking to this woman. Want to really, you know, talk about, oh yeah, she drove 45 minutes to me. Now listen, maybe I don't know where they live, so maybe there's more closer to his area or whatever, so it made more sense for her to get to him. But it's like, why are you why say that? Why not just say we met up at such and such place? Why do you want to frame it like, oh, she drove 45 minutes to see me? Oh, I was fighting getting with her, and oh, we matched and I walked away a few times, and oh, I think all men are the prize. Why are you emphasizing that? And why is it that throughout the entire interview, at no point do you ever gas up your wife? The only time I heard him really give her any sort of credit was when he talked about she could cook. This woman is known as an Olympic gymnast, and he only is really giving her credit for cooking. He's not like anything else. Like, it's crazy. It's crazy how I can't. I cannot. So, and then it seemed like he wasn't even physically attracted to her, you know. He's talking about her leg is up, and he's like, "Oh, bro, why is she like that?" It's like men will they really will sexualize anything. She does that as your wife, and that's your response. That's your response. You're serious? Like, I just I just don't understand why you can't gas her up. She's your wife. She's not even your girlfriend now. She is your wife. Why are you so comfortable talking about her in such a bad light? This isn't even about, I mean, yes, she's an accomplished gymnast, and, that's to be celebrated. But even if she wasn't, like, this is a woman who supposedly you liked, loved, desired enough to ask to be your wife, but you have an issue gassing her up. That's just so weird to me. That's weird. Regardless, she reached out to you first. Why can't you say nice, good things about her? And now, look, I haven't seen other times where he's talked about her, so maybe he has, but why? It shouldn't have to, I shouldn't have to look at other videos to see you say something nice about your wife. I really shouldn't have to. I shouldn't. I shouldn't. So hopefully he really does like her. Hopefully he really does love her, and he just did a terrible interview, because regardless of how he actually feels about her, he really did do her dirty in that interview. He did. If he didn't, there wouldn't be so much controversy over it, but he did her dirty. So I hope it's not really like that. But where did they meet? On a dating app. And how did he treat her? Like a lot of these men who are on here, just swiping just to swipe. Because why is it you swiped on her, okay? And they both had disagreeing things on, who liked who first. He probably did like her first, for real, but whatever. Regardless, it's like, he's swiping on these girls. Whether he found her attractive or not, if we look at his dating history, he didn't. But hey, you never know. Okay. But the point is, I mean, to me, it sounded like he was just swiping on everybody. That's what it sounded like to me. That's what it sounds like. I could be wrong, though. I really could be wrong. But it's like he's swiping, gets to her. She has to pursue him. And then he gets on this interview and still can't gas her up, which is crazy. And even says like, "Oh, I didn't know who she was, but I saw she had a lot of followers, so I figured she must be good." Like, that was what attracted you to her? Not what she had on her profile, not how she looked, which men are visual, so really I would have thought that would have, in all, look, as vain as it sounds, I would have thought that would be, oh yeah, she got, because I genuinely think she has such a beautiful smile. When I look at her smile, I'm like, oh my gosh, like it just lights up her face. I feel like it lights up the room, right? But that's not, I mean, so to me it's like, it's just, to me, I just find it sad, because if it really does seem as bad as it sounds, just from an outside perspective, then it's pretty much exactly what I think of the men who go on these dating apps. The men who don't pursue you as women, um, when when you have to be the one pursuing them. Like, I really am against it, because I feel like women, generally speaking, like and love so much more purely, in the sense that if they say, I mean, again, not all women, because yes, there are certain women who are, they're doing it just for money or free meals or for whatever, but I do feel like, generally speaking, when a woman indicates that she is interested or she likes you, you know that she does. Generally speaking. And I feel like a lot of times in cases where she doesn't, you kind of could have predicted that, but you're being a little delusional about it, you know? As Tony Gaskin says, maybe you're not looks compatible and you don't want to accept it. But yeah. So I just feel like dating apps a lot of times rob a woman of the opportunity to really see how this man feels about her. Not all the time, but I think the fact that, like, you guys can match can really give off the wrong perception, because in the case of Simone, one of the things that she said is one of the things that I said in the beginning of the video, and is how I used to look at things, which is, well, we matched, so he was already interested in me, you know. There was already interest there, so I just messaged first. That's literally exactly how I used to look at it, and I really didn't see a problem with it. I really didn't. I really thought, like, well, what does it matter? Like, I just want to get the ball rolling. Like, who cares? But I have had to learn to acknowledge the difference between the way men move on average and the way women move on average. I had to acknowledge that. And, if a woman is looking for something casual, then sure, you might as well reach out first. Don't really make a difference. I mean, who cares how interested he is? It's a short term thing. It's not meant to be long term. So even if he don't like you like that, if y'all both on the same page and y'all both want the same thing, then hey, okay, that's different. But if you want something real, you want something lasting, then you need to know that his interest is there, and he needs to reach out first. And dating apps really just, now, if he reaches out first after you match, that's one thing. But again, the whole thing with matching, I feel like, can really throw you off. And if you don't go in with a certain mindset, you really can get played. Seriously, like, you can really get played. Because, I mean, gosh, my experiences on there, I had a situation where I was talking to this guy. Now, he actually did message me first, which I was very thrown off by. I didn't think that he would go for someone like me, which still has me real suspicious, but I'm not even going to get into that whole thing and why I felt like he went for me. But the thing is, I found him very attractive, right? And the fact that he was talking to me despite how attractive he was. Now, I had guys who were attractive like me before, like on the apps, but it never really went anywhere. Sometimes I didn't match them back just because I could tell it wasn't gonna go anywhere, even if we matched. And I was so, at the time, I was so flattered that he was interested in me, or so I thought, and that he was talking to me. And when I was talking to him, I was gassing him up, right? Like, I was telling him, like, I think you're so attractive. You're like my ideal type, looks wise. Like, I was really gassing him up. And I was doing that mostly because, that's what I would want for a guy to do for me. If he thought I was attractive, I would want him to tell me that too. And that was one of the things about him. That's not something that he was really doing. Like, yeah, he had told me I was attractive a few times, but it definitely wasn't the same energy as what I was telling him. And really, it was almost kind of just no energy at all. Um, and it just, he, he didn't, at the end of it, he didn't like me. He wasn't feeling me. He wasn't. And I don't know if I threw it off with my behavior, like if I was just coming off as too, as like if I was coming off a certain way, which at the time, again, I didn't see anything like at the time, I would have considered him the prize if I'm honest. I wasn't looking at it with me being the prize or anything like that because I was just so like enamored with his looks. Honestly, I would have at the time. I would have considered. I guess that's why I feel so like passionately or whatever. I guess with the Simone thing because I really feel like in a lot of ways I relate to it. So it just feels very personal to me. I understand it's not the same story, but it's why if things don't work out, I'm going to feel so bad for her even though I don't know her personally or anything. But, you know, I just I was just so flat. And he reached out to me first. You know, this wasn't even a thing of me, reaching out to him and trying to get what go for what I want or anything. Like he said something to me first, but yet and still, even though he spoke to me first, I was the one pushing to try to actually have a conversation, to try to keep it going. Um Now I didn't call him first or like really message him first. I never messaged him first. He would always have, I did always make him initiate, like, he would have to, like, if he didn't tell me, like, good morning or something like that first for the day, then we just didn't talk, right? Like, if he didn't say something to me first, like, I was always responding. But even in my responses, I was giving a lot more than he was giving. I really was. And the sad part is from the very beginning, I had a feeling that he was either a catfish or he was wasting my time. He wasn't a catfish, I saw by video chat, but he was wasting my time. He was definitely wasting my time. And at the end of the day, he wasn't interested in me. And, I ended up matching again with him like later on a separate occasion, like months later. And he told me he still liked me, but he didn't like me. And if he did like me, I'm putting quotes around it because it wasn't that he liked me. I know he didn't. Like, he could have liked me in the sense of there were some things that I said that showed who I was as a person. And yeah, he should have liked that. But he had no substance to him. So I really think that what he liked was how I made him feel. He liked that I found him attractive and that I would flirt with him and everything, which I really regret. And I'm not doing that again. And Tony talks about that too. But, I feel like a fool for the way that I did that. Now, I didn't do, like I said, I didn't do the most. Like, I wasn't chasing or anything, and I was bringing up my concerns. I was like, hey, like, you're saying this but you're not, like, you're all talk, you're no action. Like, I did tell him that. And he started off telling me how he wanted to take me on a date and give me flowers and this and the third, but then didn't want to meet me for nothing. Like, we could have easily met, and he just did not want to meet me. That's how I know he didn't like me. He did not want to meet me, and it would have been so easy. It would have been so easy. you know? Then there was another guy. He talked to me first. I found him really attractive. But I moved a lot differently with this one. I didn't do the same thing. I learned from that other experience. I wasn't flirting with him at all. Um, and I still let him lead and everything. He just randomly stopped talking to me. It was extremely random. I still, to this day, as a very curious person, I don't know why he stopped talking to me. I'm still kind of curious, but at the end of the day, like, it is what it is. I don't know, and obviously I'm not gonna know. It wasn't my place to know, to find out, obviously. So whatever. But yeah. Uh, but at least, even though at the end of the day he stopped talking to me, I didn't. Interestingly enough, I met him, but it it wasn't a planned meeting. I ended up just, uh, you know, I met him in public, and he did speak. He said hello to me, but I don't think he knew who I was. If he did, he didn't acknowledge that he knew who I was. So, it is what it is, right? But the point is, even though in both those cases they ended up not liking me at the end of the day, there was at least a better chance since they reached out to me first. Even that second time with the guy I talked about before, who I did too much for, when we matched that, that latter time, I still made him say something to me first. I didn't say anything to him. I just wanted to see. Really, I only matched with him because, for one thing, I wasn't sure if he would even recognize me. If he didn't, I wanted to see what he would say, and if he did, I wanted to see what he would say. He did recognize me, though. He apologized, which was nice, but I don't believe it. In all honesty, I don't believe it. Um, but yeah, he still had to talk to me first. So, I'm at the point now. I really think dating apps are trash. They do not do anything for women. I feel like, unless you're a woman who is more in your masculine energy, because I personally think that the men generally who go on dating apps just are not the best. I'm sure there are a few that are okay. I mean, there was one that I met, and I did actually meet him. He seemed okay, but he did some things at the end of the day that kind of made me be like, okay, maybe he wasn't like. But there's probably a few good ones on there, but trying to sift through them, especially with the way that dating apps are set up and organized, it's just not even worth it. Like, you'll spend so much time trying to find a decent guy, and then once you do find one, you're probably gonna wonder, why would you even need to be on a dating app? Like, I used to think, like, okay, well, maybe like a good guy could be on a dating app because he's a good guy, but he's just more introverted, so he just hasn't like met someone, or he works a job that he wouldn't necessarily meet a lot of people. Like, I used to think that about the guy, like I said, the one who apologized to me, who was really attractive. I was doing the most, but not really, because I was still making him do stuff first. Like, I thought for him, because one of the first things he told me was, oh, all I do is go to the gym and go to work and go home. So I'm thinking, okay, well, that's why he can't meet anyone, because he doesn't really get out the house much. Neither do I. But, like, no. No. And he lived on that app too. Every time I would go on there, he was already on there. It's like, do you not have a life? What are you doing? Do you even actually work? Like, I know I technically saw you at work and you say you work, but do you even really work? I'm wondering. I didn't believe that man at all. Let me tell you. But, like I said, I just don't. I mean, and then I hear these stories about other women when they talk about meeting a guy from a dating app, and it's always a disaster. I don't really hear any good stories. And even if you don't necessarily, I feel like, have like some horror story or whatever from being on one, most of the time you're probably gonna just get sick or bored of just flipping through people in general, because ultimately it can, like, if you're bored, yeah, you might flip through people just to flip through people, but it's like at some point you're gonna get discouraged. You're gonna be like, there's nobody. Like, even if you find somebody, if you don't match with them, then that's a problem. You'll have guys on there talking about, oh, message me because I can't see likes. That's a setup. Don't do it. Okay. I did it one time. Once I messaged a guy without us even matching first, and he he rejected me. I was so embarrassed. I never did that again. Glad I only did that once. But like, look, I'm just saying, like, these dating apps, they will set you up. They'll set you up. And like, at least as a woman, they're really disadvantageous. They really are. They're not good. You'll get bored, or you won't match with the right guy, or even if you match, most likely there's going to be something. Either he's not going to give you the right energy, or maybe he does, but he only gives you the right energy through text, and in person he doesn't. Like, it's just, I don't hear enough good things. It's exhausting. If you're only matching or getting likes from people that you find unattractive, your confidence is going to go down, because then you're going to feel like, oh, only people that I'm not attracted to find me attractive. Although, then that's not even really fair to yourself, because if you're going through the app and you're seeing that pretty much all the guys aren't attractive to you, then the app is mostly guys that aren't attractive. So it's not like you're seeing a bunch of attractive, like, guys you find attractive. You're seeing a bunch of them, you're just not matching with them. Like, no, they already aren't on the app, so you really shouldn't get offended by that. You shouldn't, but it's really easy to. You know what I mean? So it's bad. It's really bad. I don't recommend. I will not do it again. I won't. Like, I will be I will die single first before I go back on one of these apps. They're garbage. Even men, even they don't like them. I assume maybe these are guys who actually weren't terrible, and they say, you go on there and they don't feel confident. They feel like it's trash. So it's really not working for anyone. It's very impersonal. It's very dehumanizing. It's not good. I definitely do not recommend. Do not recommend. Don't do it. I At the end of the day, I'm glad I did it. Do I regret it? Yes and no. I regret it in the sense that I had no good experiences, but I don't regret it in the sense that I had experiences, which means I gained experience. So I'm much more knowledgeable now than I was then. And I didn't have any, like, I mean, I did have this, like, around the time when I first started, I did have a really crazy thing happen. But, even that taught me to be safer about just if I want to date in general. It really did teach me a lot of lessons on a fast track. And, again, just in a year. And that was on and off. Like, I'd be on for like maybe a week or two, and then off for like a month or two or three, and then back on for a little bit of time. So, but I did learn a lot, so I do value that. But never again. I got what I was supposed to get from it, and now I'm good. So if you listen to this video, and especially if you listen to the whole thing, I hope you got something out of it. Had anyone had any questions or anything during this, I would have answered them. But it was me talking. But I think it was better to do this as a live, because I really just wanted to just talk freely and give an opportunity for someone to say something if they wanted to. But either way, I hope that you got something out of this, even if it was just entertainment. If you listen to the whole thing, thank you if you listen to the whole thing. I hope you have a good day. It is New Year's Eve right now, so if you listen to this in the new year of 2024, I hope that you're having a good one. And yeah, I guess I'll talk